Hi, everybody. I'm Kerri, and I'd like to thank you for tuning in. Whether you're here to learn, to support, or just listen, every little bit makes a difference. First, I want to explain that I haven't been avoiding creating a video, but the last few years have been more traumatic than I ever thought possible. As far as I knew, addicts overdosed. I had no idea that addiction could result in a long, painful death, and I had a front row seat. So Nick asked me to share as much as I was comfortable sharing, and I'll do the best I can. I did joke with him that my segment should be called That's What She Said. Yes, very cliche. But from my perspective, the stories Nick shares, they're really a result of me telling him what happened or someone else telling him what happened. So it's interesting listening to his memories because he wasn't lucid for most of the horrific moments. And I'm glad he doesn't remember them. And sometimes I wish I didn't. So laying off the heavy, the question people have asked for years, I even saw Nick ask in a video. And I asked myself, why in the hell did I stay with him? It is the simplest and most complex answer. He's my best friend. When I met Nick, I thought he was the most disgusting and arrogant asshole ever. I'm pretty sure most people did. One day, Nick posted a video of a colleague dancing on Facebook, and my aunt commented that her niece, me, worked in the same building company and tagged me. I was at Nick's desk in seconds demanding an explanation. Why are you stalking my aunt? How do you know her? What are you doing? But we found out Nick actually grew up across the street from my cousin. And when I was 16, I was at my cousin's house all the time. That happened to be the same time that Nick had his first crush on my cousin. So he used to show off in the street when we were driving around, and I am pretty sure I almost ran over him many times. Anyway, small world. That kind of started us talking to each other at least. We did end up going out after work for drinks, and then I would find myself at his apartment multiple times while my kiddo had dance for 3 or 4 hours a night. We watched a ton of movies. Godfather, saw Lord of the Rings, anything that would, be multiple nights of hanging out. And we did make it very clear to each other that neither of us wanted to be in a relationship. He was going through divorce, and my kiddo was starting high school. So that was huge for both of us. But a few years go by, and we found ourselves together all the time. And at some point, we fell in love. We acknowledged and agreed that alcohol was the main thing keeping us apart. And I admit I didn't understand the affliction at the time. But finally, I've watched a few of Nick's videos, and obviously his memories are very different than mine. We do acknowledge that and use it as a reminder that no two individuals experience an event the same. We're all different. Sitting here, so many thoughts are running through my head. It's hard to make sense of anything. But looking back, there's one event that I feel signaled the beginning of this downward spiral that we have been in. At the time, Nick was exhausted in every way. It was 2020, and he had a very little fight in him. So he was agreeable, and we tried so hard to find a rehab program, but nothing was available because COVID had shut everything down. I can't remember what the circumstances were, but I got Nick to go to the ER one night. The closest ER, which we had usually gone to, was so crowded, and I walked in, and it was just scary, so we left. But I got him to just hang out in the car while we went to another ER that was, not too far away. I explained the situation to the lady at the front desk, and bless her heart, she said if I could get Nick in, she would get him back. So very reluctantly, Nick went in and sat down in front of the registration nurse. And I could tell he was starting to sober up, so I knew we didn't have much time. It was like she knew him. She just listened and he talked. If he stopped talking, she asked a question, and he'd just start again. So she took him back to the doctor. She said, go home, get some rest. We'll keep in touch with you, and we'll let you know how things are going. And I managed to get home, and I felt so much better about everything and just kind of collapsed. About 14 hours later, Nick called and said that he was ready to be picked up. And I assumed it was he's just trying to get out. He doesn't want to be there. It's 14 hours. He's pretty sober now. When I got there, I walked back, and Nick was in a gown on a gurney in the hallway. And he was shaking so much that he couldn't walk, and he could barely talk. I knew it was withdrawal. I had just never seen that level of withdrawal, and I didn't know what to do. It seemed like he was at the stage that you always hear about when you're told you need to be under medical supervision when you detox because you could die. I kept asking the nurse if he was really okay. Can we really go home? I could tell she didn't want to send him home, but at that moment, being in the hospital was more dangerous for him than going home. She kept repeating the medication he needed and how important it was for him to get into a detox facility immediately, but they could not detox him there. I remember sitting in the parking lot for a few minutes just trying to figure out what the hell do I do? I still see the nurse's face and just my jaw dropping as she helped Nick into the car. And I really felt like the medical community was looking at Nick's condition as being self-inflicted. And rightly so, they were triaging COVID patients ahead of him. But that was the last time that he really tried to get help before it was really too late. Months later is when the ER visits started, and he was casually diagnosed with cirrhosis and liver disease and failed kidneys and needed to go to these different doctors. It happened so fast, and neither of us had any idea it was even possible. So I'm hoping that these videos that Nick and I are going to be creating, that we can give you some idea of what is possible and what you can do, what to expect. I don't know how I got through it. I watch Nick's videos and I relive it. I think it's just stuff that I haven't dealt with yet, but it's a lot. It's a lot to ask anyone to go through, whether you're the one that's sick and needing help or you're supporting someone else to help them get better. It's a lot. And just trying that's more strength than I ever thought that I had or Nick had. He says, I helped get him through and I was there for him, but he's the one that chose to live. I just was there to help him. So I'm going to cut it off there before I start crying. And it was great to see you all. And I will get some more, embarrassing stories out there about Nick, and then some of the harder times that maybe Nick doesn't remember, but I will never forget. So thanks, everybody. Bye.